Welcome to Experience 46 Islandsnow, the Meteor version. This is somewhat of an extension of the Islandsnow in React, but this time we're going to be using Meteor to be running the React components. So to make this as easy as possible, we'll be using the Meteor application template React. We have set up this template for Meteor applications that already include React. So the first step is to install the template. So let's open this in a new tab. And then we're going to use this template. And I want to name the repository Islandsnow Meteor. I want to make it private. I don't need all the branches. I will create the repository from the template. A few seconds, days later, I should have my Islandsnow. I want to clone it to my laptop using GitHub Desktop. And so I'm going to put it in my ICS 314 folder just so that I know where it goes. I clone it. I then open it in IntelliJ. You may be asked if you trust this repo. Since I've done this a couple of times, I don't get asked that question, but you do trust the repo. You just made the repo. So let's briefly talk about the directory structure of a Meteor application. We have the app directory is where the Meteor application lives. The config directory is where the configuration files go for configuring your application. In the app, we have a .deploy. That's for deploying your application to DigitalOcean or other services. .meteor is where our Meteor application is going to live. Client is where we start up the client side of the Meteor application. Public is for storing any public things like images and icons and that kind of stuff. Server is where we start up the server side, and tests are where we store our test cafe tests. So in the imports, we have three directories. The API is for our collections and those kinds of things. Startup is the things that start up the application, either on the client or the server side or both. And the UI is where we have all our React code. So now that we sort of have a brief overview of the thing, did that. So now I want to run Meteor npm install inside the app directory. So let's do that from inside of IntelliJ. So notice I'm not in the app directory. I'm at the top, so I need to cd to app. Meteor npm install. This will take a few minutes, depending on your machine and if you've turned things on. So now I've got all the npm packages installed. I now want to run Meteor npm run start to start up the application. And we get this browser list error. It's not an error, it's a warning to say that our browser list is out of date and should be updated. So we will do that next, but I want to also show you that when we start the application on an empty database, the startup says we're going to, if we have no users, we're going to create some default users. And the default users are found in the settings.development. So we have our default accounts that get set and our default data. So since it's empty, we create the accounts and then we create the data. So that's if the database is empty. We do that. So that's where you find that. Let me stop this. Oops, I could be in the right. Stop this. I want to run the npx to update the browsers. It may ask you if you are allowed to install Can I Use It Lite. So you want to say yes if it does ask you. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So now we can then try to run start again. This time we didn't get that npx browser list problem, so let's load. So we got the Meteor application template. Welcome to the template. It's up and running. So that looks excellent. It looks like it's supposed to. Our shell sort of looks like that, but we didn't, because we didn't, the second time I ran it, it wasn't an empty database. I could do it. If you want to see that again, I can kill it. If I run Meteor reset, that clears the database. I'll run start again. And then, of course, it reset the browser list. So I got my things. So now I've got installed template, so let's okay, so now I want to say push. Okay, so now I want to see the set up ESLint. So I need to open a JSX or JS file, and in my version, since I'm using NVM to choose my version manager, I need to say this is where my node lives. Once I do that, then to see that ESLint's working, I add a whole bunch of things. I get my red, I get the error, save it. There's my error. So ESLint is running. There we go. Good to go. But there's no changes to my code or my repo, so I can't commit, so I don't need to do that. So now I want to port the Islandsnow React mockup to Meteor. So I want to copy or port the CSS classes. So I want to go and open my this. I can go Control A, C, go to Client, Style, add this. Or I could actually just override all of it. Let's see if that would. But did that. Okay, we're still there. Oh. Okay, so the footer changed. You notice it went to white, and that'll work for us. Now we got this thing that I want to say about IntelliJ is that they're seeing the app Meteor local build programs. It's got a package.json and it's asking you whether you want the npm install. You do not want to run that install. You'll break your installation of Meteor. So the way to get around that is you go to local, right mouse click, and you mark the directory as excluded. So that's telling IntelliJ not to look in that directory to find things that you do, and we just want to close that. It's important you do not run npm install on that stuff. It will break your Meteor installation, and you'll have to start again. Okay, so where was I? Did the style, port the page components, so we're going to want to take the page components, or the components from index.js, and put them into the component. So this is a component. The top menu is a component. So I'm just going to copy this whole bit right here. And I want to put it in the component. So new JavaScript JSX, top menu, add, don't ask me again, Paste. I don't need the React DOM or the Bootstrap or the style because in the client I already import this Bootstrap and the style, so I don't need that stuff. And then ESLint's telling me I don't use button and column, don't use an image, don't use a row. Do use that. I can format the code to get the spaces there. Top menu is not used. Top menu. And then I need an extra line at the end. And then I have this last one, self-closing. Green check mark, so my top menu's done. So now let's go to logo. So I need a new component. Logo. But I want the React stuff. Don't need those three. Don't need any of the icons. Button. Container. The nav stuff. After that, that's logo, second menu. Java. Don't need those three. Don't need any of the icons. Don't need the button, the call, container, nav, or image. No nav bar. No row. Default. Now this, it's either single quotes or I actually don't need the curly braces. And then I'm missing spaces, so I can just format the code to get my spaces. Okay, so second menu is good. What's the next one? Main image. New JavaScript JSX. Main image. Support default. Main image. Don't need the icons. Don't need these three. Don't need the button. Don't need the container. Don't need the nav bar. Okay. What's the next one? Footer menu. Let's copy. New JavaScript JSX. Import default. Footer menu. Don't need these three. Don't need those guys. And then I've got no spaces. Okay, so I've got those components done. Page components, so all of them. Now I want a page, the Islandsnow page, called Islandsnow JSX in the pages directory, because this is a page, it's not a component. New JavaScript. And it wants this guy. We don't need the React. So we could do it by copying all that stuff, but we need to import React. We need to export default Islandsnow. But we don't have the top menu. We don't have the logo. We don't. So we need to import them. So, and IntelliJ is smart enough that when I start typing, it has completion. So I don't want footer, I put footer menu. And then reformat to get the spaces in there. Save it. Okay, so we're good to go. We've got our page. We've got our Islandsnow page. So now we want localhost to point to the Islandsnow page. To do that, we need to change the app component to route to Islandsnow instead of landing. So in layouts, app, this is where we have our router that sets up all the routes in our application. Right now, slash is going to landing. So we want it to go to Islandsnow. And again, IntelliJ is smart enough, if I start doing it and hit the completion, it knows to import it. I save it. I should update my DB. I'm not gonna right now. We already talked about that. And now, what does my thing look like? Oh, I don't have any images. So I forgot to copy over the images. So the images are in public, and so I want to copy these two images because there's the logo and the main image. So where do images go? They go into the public images folder. So I need to put them in there. I now need to update the main image, so the location is now going to be images, Islandsnow main. Give that space. And the logo, where'd my logo go? Experience, and I don't need the alt. But I need to restart the server in order to get those copied assets, those images, to be available to the server. Since I didn't restart the server, I need to do that. Restart Meteor. So let's get in here. Killed it. Restart it. So it's going to go look and see where all the images are, and it will start serving up those images for those URLs. If I reload, I'm now serving up the logo and the main image, and so it's looking pretty good, except for I've got the Meteor application template React nav bar on the top, and I've got the Meteor application template footer on the bottom. So I want to fix the nav bar in the footer. So again, in the app layout, here's where my nav bar is. So one way to easily do this is just get rid of the nav bar. And then if we take a look, the nav bar is gone. Now, if we want this top menu to appear on all the pages, we want to move that top menu to here, and then update Islandsnow that we no longer need the top menu. And so we still have it, but now this top menu would appear on every page of the application. And since we only have one page, that's fine. So now we can replace this footer with this footer menu. So in app, we can get rid of footer, replace it with footer menu. Notice nav bar is no longer used. Footer is no longer used. But Islandsnow, we don't want the footer either because it's in the main application. And so now we've got the top menu, which will be on every page, the Islandsnow, and then the main menu at the bottom. And we've got our stuff. We probably want to go into style.css and get rid of some of these. Get rid of this stuff. I'm going to get rid of it. Just because that's better. Still didn't get the right spec. Color is BS navlink, and that's coming from .nav. BS black. Wonder why it's not black. Should be black. Okay, now I got my black. Don't know why I had to do that, but because this should have, this nav should have taken care of it. No idea why that happened. Okay, so what's the next step? Does display that. We need to fix the title. Notice how the title of the page says Meteor application template. So that's in the main.html. Change the title. We've got Islandsnow. Okay, so we've ported to Meteor. Domain, push origin. Hopefully this goes. Writing the objects. Excellent. So we want to clean up the UI code. We want to make sure that it got to GitHub. Ported items, so it got to GitHub. That's good. So now we want to remove the components that we're not using. So we can start an app. So we don't need the sign-in page. We don't need the sign-up page. We don't need the sign-out page. We don't need home. We don't need list. We don't need add. We don't need edit. We don't need admin. We don't have authorization. So we just need that. So now, since it's not imported, we can get rid of the list stuff admin, add stuff, edit stuff. Sign up, sign out, sign in, not authorized. But we still need landing because landing is used as a prop, a default prop, so it'll default. If we wanted to get rid of the default props, we could, but I'm not going to do it. And then we can get rid of landing. So in the pages, we need landing, Islandsnow, and not found. So we can delete, add stuff, and we can delete, edit stuff. We need landing. Now list stuff, when we try to delete it, we'll see that there is a reference in some code. So the stuff item refers to the list stuff thing in a comment. So it's saying you shouldn't do it, but we're going to do the refactor anyway. List stuff admin. Again, we're going to get that. It's in a comment. So we can do the refactor. We don't have a not authorized. We don't have a sign-in page. We don't have a sign-out page. And we don't have a sign-up page. And then the components, we no longer have our footer. We replaced it with footer menu. We don't use a loading spinner because we're not connecting to any Mongo database anymore. We do use the logo. We do use the main image. We don't use the nav bar anymore. We replace that with top menu. Second, we don't have a stuff item anymore. That's what we use to list the stuff. And we don't have a stuff item admin. So that got rid of all the sort of non-Islandsnow stuff. We're leaving the landing page there just because the protected routes refer to it. And so now we have our cleaned up version of Islandsnow. And we're going to push domain. And then let's look at it in GitHub. App. Oops, don't want that one. App. Imports. UI. Pages. We just have the landing, the Islandsnow, and not found. So it's been cleaned up. Excellent. Hope this helps with your understanding of Meteor and creating a React version of a Meteor application. Thank you for your attention.